Pull a permit for that stove?
Sure.
Bullshit.
What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about a Lions victory, like we always do, but we're going to talk a little bit too about everyone's worried about the injuries, the free agent signings that we made. Want to talk about some fan engagement. We're almost to 60 on YouTube.
Okay.
And what else do we want to talk about? We got a short week because we've got the Packers on Thursday night, which is really in 2 days.
We'll go into this game with regular rest, Thursday to Thursday.
So I think we're ready to go if you want to rip.
Let's rip.
Okay.
Here's our intro. Welcome back to the Fan Forum. We got a lot to talk about, so let's roll.
Yeah, welcome back, Hitch. A happy Turkey Day that has already passed us. I thought that was exactly what we said. We called 5 sacks. They got 5 sacks. We said the defense was going to win us the game. The defense won us the game.
Ed Eberflus won us the game.
What's that?
Ed Eberflus, isn't that his name? He won us the game with his clock management and all the bullshit at the end. It was weird.
Yeah, but hey, when's the last time we won on Thanksgiving?
7 years prior.
So let's think about how weird it was. It was weird that we first won on Thanksgiving. It was weird that we weren't the team that fumbled the timeouts at the end to cost us a game. It's weird that we were in a position to have a divisional rivalry team come into our home turf and beat us and ruin our win streak. It was weird that that didn't happen. So it was weird that we played 4 quarters of football. Were they all perfect? I don't think so, but we played them.
Did. We were there. We showed up for 2.5, 3 of them. And I you know what? I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not freaking out. Like I already said, I'm not overanalyzing this, I don't think. Good teams have bad days. And what you alluded to at the very top of this is we're going to talk about the injuries, man. I found when I was cleaning out my desk earlier, I found a folder that I prepared for myself for episode 1 of this season and some stats, really. The roster, the opening day roster after the 53-man cut, I printed it. I did my Excel thing that I do. I want to say like 8 of those guys at one point in the year on our defense. No, like 6 on our defense, 2 on our offense at one point in the year were on IR. And then we have a bunch of other injuries. We have some practice squad guys that didn't pan out. I'm not freaking out because we're not healthy. No team in the league right now is healthy, but we're missing some key contributors besides Hutch at some pivotal, pretty shallow positions. So I'm looking at good teams have bad days, and I'm looking at the fact that we are real beat up.
We are. And that seems to be the continuing, how do I say this? It's the hot button issue right now with all the Lions fans. But I want to calm you down, Hitch, because I had a coworker come up to me and say that, we're the most injured team in the NFL. And I looked that stat up and we're not. Really, the Bears are. And
Really?
Even in the company that we're in, and yeah, we're like 5, 6, 7, right in that bucket, give or take. But so is the Eagles, the Vikings. I mean, it's something to scare you from a past team that never had depth and didn't go out and make roster moves, didn't have the roster flair, the culture, where guys like Jamal Adams, Quan Alexander, former Pro Bowlers, former Super Bowl champions, they're waiting. They want to play with a contender. I mean, it's no secret that every year there's a short list of well-named guys, specifically, honestly, on the defensive ball that say, my name speaks for itself. I've made my money with my contracts before. I don't want to get banged up in training camp. Hey, you guys know what I can do. Call me if you need me.
These are these are the Sues and the Odell Beckhams of the world, right?
Yeah, that went to the LA Rams or that went to the Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs, that went to perennial teams that were contenders.
And this legitimizes us again. I wasn't looking for another sign or an excuse to say, hey, we're good. This might be our year. I wasn't looking for that, but this legitimizes us to a whole new level, right? We're not just excited here in Detroit. There's plenty of people around the country, including some former Pro Bowlers, that are excited about what we're doing. And this just galvanizes all of it, in my opinion.
Well, in Jamal Adams' opinion too, because he got a call from AG, and he said when he got that call, he's like, absolutely, I'll come and play. My God, what you guys are doing, he said, you're kicking everyone's ass in the league right now. I want to be a part of that.
Oh,
So, yeah, as nervous as I am, dude, there's still a waiting line at Ford Field.
oh.
I mean, there's still a bunch of current players who are going, call me if someone gets hurt, I'll play for you.
And you know what? Like my snap reaction to signing Adams, at first I had to verify it was real. He's not the Adams of
Is that
old,
because
but
I
he's.
sent it to you?
Oh, I couldn't get anything from anybody. I was up north duck hunting. I was in a dead zone, if you will, for a long time. But he's not the Adams of old, is what I started to say. But he is still a very good ball player, I think. We haven't seen him in a minute, but there's no indication that he's not a very good ball player. And then my thought immediately went to why safety? Why now? Did I miss an injury? But then it dawned on me. Again, please correct me if you disagree or if you think I'm wrong, but we've talked on and off every episode about Branch and how special he is, and we know everyone should know our love for Joseph at this point. We've compared Branch to CJ Gardner Johnson 2.0, right? He's talented. He played slot, I believe, in college. He even played outside at times. And then we know what he can do at safety. So with a defense that's decimated from the middle or the middle up, right? We have Straw Jr., who showed some promise early on, who is on IR. You have Carlton Davis, who was already banged up with a big wrap on his hand, dealing with a knee issue, right? But what dawned on me is maybe we bring in Adams to play that middle high safety, similar to what Tracy Walker was able to do so effectively his last couple of years here. That checks two boxes. That gives us some zone help over the top, and that gives us someone who can come up into the box, play that small linebacker role, if you will, run support, cover tight ends. But I think what I'm getting at here is that might free up Branch. If we're worried about Davis, if we're missing Rick Straw, because we saw some horrendous corner play down this depth chart in the last couple of weeks. So maybe we're going to see Branch in the slot. We're going to see Adams and Joseph doing their thing on the back end, and Adams, once he's acclimated, coming up into the box. Leaves
Well, I
a
think
lot of options open.
let me summarize what I think you're trying to say is that you think that we have the flexibility to utilize all the players on our team to give us the end result that we require. And something I want to bring up is something I posted on the Fan Forum Facebook page was that, and I'll quote him, it said, they're not looking for him to be a ball hawk. He had 9.5 sacks in 2020. He can be used as a blitzer, hybrid linebacker type.
Well, Adams had 9.5 sacks in 2020.
I did not know that. Now, this is what was quoted on this when they signed him. And it quotes, I think this is, may even be Woodward Sports that made that reference. But irregardless, it got me thinking that he's saying, listen, you've already got Kirby Joseph and you've already got Brian Branch to be ball hawks. What we need is someone to hit the quarterback. We know that with Hutch out. So
Sure.
here is another option. When you talked about the beneficiary, there's literally, picture it, Hitch, there's a beneficiary phone, it's red, sitting on Brad Holmes's desk, right? And anybody that he calls on that line on the defensive side and says, do you want to come play for the Lions, is going to benefit from this Hutch injury. And what you're seeing was Darius Smith having a sack and a half last game. DJ Reader, who we brought in here, we got super excited about and wanted to see something from. He hit the stat sheet with 2 sacks.
He
had
been
5 sacks.
He's been on the stat sheet doing exactly what we needed him to do when we brought him in. But
Correct.
seeing him involved in the pass rush is phenomenal.
And then you've got our defensive end, Muhammad. I'm not even going to pretend to say his first name or know exactly everything about him. All I know is it's next man up. Now, we've seen it with franchises like the Patriots, like the Colts, like the Kansas City Chiefs. The list goes on where, man, some of these guys that we've fallen in love with, we didn't really know them until they showed up and they had their opportunity, right? And this is Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell building a culture to where those players are knocking on our door saying, hey, you guys know what I can do. Please, I know you need someone to hit that quarterback. I know you love hitting the quarterback. And I've been seeing what you're doing. week in and week out with this coaching staff, and my God, I want to be a part of this shit. So it's like my next question, Hitch, is when is Calvin Johnson coming back?
I touched on that facetiously last week when I said I thought he was 32 years old or something like that. But
yeah, that's messed up. I'll pretend I should have clipped that.
Whatever, dude. Nobody's perfect, right?
I'm far from.
So hypothetically, yeah, I'm sure the guys are on the outside looking in thinking, where was this 10 or 15 years ago? But realistically, we brought them back into the fold, right? They see this culture. We got Barry back around in commercials and at Ford Field, and Kelvin, I believe, went into the Ring of Honor. He's a Hall of Famer, and now he's re-engaging with the team. It's the culture. Brad and Dan aren't building a culture. They're building on the culture that they've already established, and guys like Adams are a big part of it. Guys like who's the guy we talked about in on waivers from Miami? Was it Long, a linebacker? I think his name was Long. We talked about how he was productive a few years ago and flashed, I guess, with the new defensive coordinator. But you got these guys like Muhammad, and you got a bunch of guys coming in like Adams. And then you got this guy Long, whose snap count was already trending in the right direction. But with some of these injuries that I'm sure we're going to touch on in a minute here, his snap count was already trending up, and he played a lot on Thanksgiving. I'm not going to sit down and Google the snap counts. You can if you want, but this guy played a lot on Thanksgiving, and he was like immediately contributing. And now we're adding more depth around him. It's wild. It's wild that we're a destination. We've talked about it. We've seen it come to fruition partially in the past free agencies, but now we are truly a destination, and it's really just something. It adds to the mystique and the shock and awe this season has already been.
Wingo too. There's another name that popped up. Mykhail Wingo, another defensive tackle that showed up on the stat sheet. Hitch, you're right. I'm looking at it right now because I had to. Even Kendor Vildor. God,
man.
If that's all we have to really complain about, let's leave it at that, because
he might the culture. He might be a great locker room presence. Fuck, he might even be like a hidden gem as a kick returner or something, but he is not.
I'll give him credit because last year, I want to say, he did some nice things. He contributed in more of a positive way. Maybe the bar's been raised with Terrion Arnold. Now, you want to talk about kick return. So the special teams coach, and I think I sent you this, it was as soon as Khalif Raymond got injured, he said the two people that have been chomping at the bit to return punts and kicks are J-Mo and Terrion Arnold.
Okay.
So, to your culture point, I think everybody wants to do everything. They just want to be a part. They just want to help. They're like, dude, I'll do it. I don't care. Let's win. Let's go.
Out of those two guys, they both play a large role on this team. It was kind of like when we had Amon-Ra St. Brown back there after the injury. We're thinking, get him out of there. Don't let him return punts. Out of those two guys, though, who would you rather see returning
J-Mo.
punts? I knew you were going to say J-Mo, and I'm not talking about the top end speed. I'm just saying.
Neither am I. I'm talking about what you can. We've seen him without J-Mo. We can win without J-Mo. I've seen us without Terrion Arnold, and you're getting Kendor Vildor. Sounds like a He-Man bad guy.
Like Gwildor.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But that's an easy question. It's an easy answer because not only J-Mo is, I'm sure Terrion Arnold's super fast, but dude, J-Mo, lightning fast.
It's a mad move to me. You take a guy like J-Mo and you put him back there on kicks and on punts, and you put him in there at third down running back, and you put him in there at corner.
That's a Super Bowl move. That's a something you bring in on, like, you get a first round bye in the playoffs, and your next game he's returning kicks for you if you need him to. But I don't really think we're in a position, man. I really think that even on the special team side, there's a lot of competition. Where is it going to be Khalif Raymond? No, I don't think you're going to replace his production. I think he's that unique of a punt returner in special teams.
I agree.
Ace. But is he going to do a job? He's going to do a good job. He's not going to hurt us. Whoever it's going to be won't hurt us. He'll continue to help us.
Agreed. I don't think there's anyone in this locker room, even Vildor, who doesn't bring something. Right? Vildor is depth. Vildor is affordable. Vildor, I'm assuming, fits the culture. They're not going to waste their time and money bringing in people that don't fit. Right?
Yeah, that's the one thing you can't do because one bad attitude, man, one bad attitude can screw this whole thing up. And I think we've seen that with, hey, dude, this is what we've seen with all the good teams, with all the good teams that are building something past just 1 year, right? What we saw the Rams do was an all in one time thing that I don't really think we're going to see a lot of. I think the Cowboys would love to do that every year. But what I think we're seeing with Detroit now is we're building something to, goddamn well this year at the draft, you're not going to be texting me all nervous about certain picks. You're going to be like, whoever that is probably is going to be rookie of the year for, a nomination for defensive rookie of the year.
Whoever it is will have a place on the team. Whoever it is, I mean, his percentage is great. His swing and miss percentage is negligible. I'm to this point now, and I think you are, and I think a lot of people around the whole country are to this point, and it's not just hyperbole anymore, but in Brad we trust, right? Brad drafts somebody, or
Yeah.
Dan and Brad agree to draft somebody, and it's for a reason. Which back to the punt returner, I know we're kind of ping-ponging all over, but I think we do all the time. Ikai.
Okay. Yeah.
Ikai is healthy.
Training camp standout.
We saw something in him to force us or allow us to use a third or fourth round draft pick on the guy. He's versatile and potentially. I never want to say just a special teamer because there's three facets to the game, and special teams is so often overlooked as a way to easily win or lose a game, right? Or quickly, I should say, win or lose a game. Let's see Vaikai back there. I hope all week in practice they had Vaikai returning punts and kickoffs, and he just seems very dynamic, very athletic. We know he can tackle. Let's see his top end speed. Let's see his vision. I think it's there.
I agree because I'm looking at it and it looks like it was just Khalil Dorsey and Maurice Alexander, which aren't it didn't do a bad job. Did exactly like we said, right? Hey guys, need you to come fill in for the day. Got it. It's plug and play. They do a nice job. But I think you're gonna maybe see a little bit more of that spark that we had with Khalif Raymond back there. Yeah, that would be a really nice option.
And maybe he'll fall flat on his face, literally or figuratively. But I feel like not that any person is ever truly expendable, but it's like low risk, high reward potential in seeing what Vaikai can do back there.
And as long as he's going to help us and not hurt us, because we are a team that you can either, we have the ability to beat you by 23, or we have the ability to take you down to the wire and let you make a mistake. And let's talk about that mistake that Chicago made. Now, is that bad coaching? I know, okay, that is bad coaching, but if you're Chicago's coach and you're coming into Ford Field and you're coming into playing against Coach Iron Dan Campbell, as you so eloquently put it, you're out to prove something. Tell me that you're not super nervous and your head's all over the place. You're not paying attention. You're freaking out. You're panicking. I mean, dude, was that not? I mean, the guy's not an idiot. You don't get to be an NFL coach by being an idiot. So is that what happens when you're in an environment where it's just so hard to play in that it's so hard to coach in?
I think a lot of what happened at the end of the Bears game is a perfect example of what can get lost in translation because you just said it. You hit the nail on the head. Took the words out of my mouth. You see this microphone just keep trying to swing into my face here?
It's cold.
It is cold, man. You don't get these jobs. You don't get paid this money. You're not given the keys, if you will, to a franchise like the Bears or any of the other 31 franchises if they don't feel that you're, in most cases, the best person for the job. Was Matt Eberflus outcoached? Yep. Did he make a mistake? Yes, but only, in my opinion, because the buck stops with him. I think what was lost in translation, literal translation, is you got this rookie quarterback who did have a good second half, almost won him the game. But it's just got to be a nightmare trying to get calls in to your mic'd up players. You have a finite amount of time. That place is loud. I believe it's the loudest place in the NFL this year. There's strategies to mitigate all of that, but what you saw, I don't think was him being scared or nervous. I think you saw who the better coach was, who the better staff was, and I think that it's just the environment, the game situation at that point in time, the fact that you have a rookie with a finite amount of time to hear what you're telling him. I think it was a perfect storm for a subpar team.
we've been on the other end of that storm so many times that I guess I'm so used to getting mad at the incompetence, the gross incompetence of ownership, that it's different when you see it with another team, because it seems like the Bears ownership and their general manager are somewhat well respected. I know not loved, but dude, who's going to be the next coach? Is it going to be Ryan Day? Because that's kind of what it looked like to me. It
Maybe.
kind of looked like the way the Ohio State Michigan game ended, where the communication. Now that guy had no excuse because he's literally playing in the horseshoe. He's playing at home. That was just man, another one of good job, Sharon Moore, for out coaching that just slimy, sweaty looking
Yeah.
fart. Like the guy looks
Yeah.
like a fart, like
Yeah.
a fart cloud
Saw a
with beard
thing. I saw a
and
thing
facial hair.
online about him. He was wearing some jazzy Christmas suit, some red suit, green tie,
Oh
get
my
up.
God, I know what you're talking
And
about.
it said that Ryan Day looks like the manager that fires the real Santa Claus in every Christmas movie, right? He just looks schwarmy. He looks
He
schwarmy. He
does.
looks untrustworthy. He just looks like a real piece of work. And Eberflus might be an example of a decent coach. You know, decent coaches, good coaches lose their jobs, victims of circumstance every year. Jim Schwartz, right? Jim Schwartz is a good
Yeah.
coach, right?
Yeah.
Eberflus might fall into that category more than the Ryan Day category, but I'm not going to pretend to know much about Matt Eberflus. I know more about Ryan Day, and I'm not even a college football fan because he's a polarizing figure. Matt Eberflus might have been a placeholder, maybe. I don't think he's a bad coach. He's the victim of circumstance. It's just it happens, and they gotta the buck stops somewhere, and Friday the buck stopped with Eberflus. He's the boss.
Well, speaking of the Stooges, I mean, this is our division, so whoever replaces him, it'll be very telling to see where that team's going to go, because they've had so many different head coaches, Matt Nagy, Eberflus, the list goes on, where I think we know that the Minnesota Vikings are sticking with Kevin O'Connell. I like the guy, I really respect what he's doing in Minnesota.
Yep.
And then we've got Green Bay. It doesn't seem that that situation's breaking up anytime soon, although we'll get into the Packers. But then we've got the Bears, who always have been a hard team for us to play. It's a close game. It doesn't matter how good or bad we either of us are. Always something I always look forward to is who are they drafting and who's their coach.
Yeah.
So it'll
You
be
always keep a
curious to see.
special. You always keep a closer eye on your division, without a doubt. You look to see, you know, when not to jump the gun here, but like when Robert Saleh lost his job and then he winds up right in Green Bay, like literally the next day, you always wince a little bit. You don't
Right.
want a guy like that anywhere in your division, right?
Nah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, let's talk Green Bay, because we're
Let's talk
20,
Green Bay.
30 minutes in, and that game is in a couple days. Man, they continue to be a different team every time they take the field. They just played. Who did they just play?
Green Bay this
That was on
week.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, Green Bay. Miami, that's who
That
it
game,
was.
and that game
Man,
was
have
over
I
at
never
halftime.
that game was over before halftime, and I was so disappointed because I truly hate the Dolphins. I'm not going to lie, even though I was a huge Marino fan back in the day,
It's fair.
right? I mean, he was an Ace Ventura. Come on.
Your goddamn business, Mark.
Exactly. Just for once, could the Dolphins have done something to make me happy? I mean, it seems like that's a team that's kind of on a dumpster fire, where Jalen Ram, I just feel like they're all going to want out at some point, because that is not a Super Bowl contending team the way they keep pretending to be. So I'm not going to give the Packers too much credit, but dude, when there is no pressure on Jordan Love and you give him a little bit of time, dude, he's fucking dangerous.
Oh, Jordan Love is the guy that you hate because he's a Packer. You got to hate him. But he's a guy. He's a guy that if he was a Lion, I'd be on board. I'd be on the train. I'd be thrilled, right? I'd be very happy about the potential for my franchise to do their thing for the next 10 years, right? He's a good player. He's on the up. And not to get too analytical, because I've been told that sometimes I do, but to have a guy like that with all of the new rookie rules, right? The rookie wage scale, the 5th-year options, the double franchise tag option. It's to this point where if he keeps trending up, he's going to be in Green Bay without a doubt for another 7 or 8 years before he even has to think about if he wants to play somewhere else. He's a good player in the league. There's a lot of guys that I feel that way about, and I'm a bit salty that they're not Lions. But at the same time, you make me pick right now for this season, not for the next 5 years, not down the line. Jared Goff still wins this conversation every time. I want Jared Goff to be our quarterback for this year, hopefully, most likely for next year before we have to start looking at it. A lot of guys around the league that I would feel differently about if they're Lions, but I mean, maybe Tom Brady in his damn prime, Josh Allen. Who else in this league would you want under center for the Lions right now besides for maybe Josh Allen, right?
No, I agree, especially the way our offenses ran and the weapons we have. I don't think we need our quarterback to be the strong arm focal point. He literally needs to just do what he's been doing. We need a quarterback who is mentally bulletproof. We need somebody who isn't phased by your Jedi mind tricks. We need a blue collar guy, man. That's what we need. Someone who's not afraid to work in the cold, someone who's not afraid to take the fish off the hook. You know what I mean? Gut your own deer. That's who Jared Goff is in my eyes when he's the field general out there. But looking at Jordan Love, take a look at the last 3 teams they played. They played the Bears, they won. They played the San Francisco 49ers, which I'm sorry, you've seen that team. They're not the 49ers that we're used to. And then they just played the Dolphins, which really aren't that great of a team either. All 3 of those teams, his QBR was, I think, above 100. Except for playing us, it was 69. Caused him 3 fumbles to be forced, put an insane amount of pressure on him. So, Hitch, is it safe to say that with Zadarius Smith and some of the key things that we just said from a 5-sack game of these guys that are so hungry, Jamal Adams, I mean, the key to this game is going to be let's hit Jordan Love in the mouth right away.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that that's a stretch at all. We have to go into Lambeau this time, right? We played him at home. Going into Lambeau in the cold, Jared Goff, part of this diatribe that everybody projects about Goff is that he's an inside quarterback. I mean, who isn't? Everybody plays better inside, right? But let's get after.
The Lions can't win at Lambeau. Yeah, we can. Remember that argument that they always used to say?
Yeah.
Lions can't win at Lambeau in the wintertime. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can win anywhere. We ruined
Aaron Rodgers' fucking season.
We can win anywhere against anybody at any time. We're in a position where we have a chance, right? But to answer your question directly about putting pressure on, I think that's a key to victory in every game. 11 or 12 that we've played so far and the few that we have left, get the pressure on. And that's obviously something that Brad and Dan are emphasizing just by nature of what we can see them doing when Hutchinson went down and how aggressive they were, judicious they were in finding his replacement at the trade deadline and continuing to bring in help in the middle, help on the line, all over the line, right? The emphasis is on the pass rush, and it should be every week. There's a winning formula. Getting pressure is pivotal.
Agree. I wish I could find a stat right now for this. Well, according to this stat, the team that pressures the quarterback the most are the Bears, Cardinals, Packers, and Giants.
We've been bringing the house. Give it a couple more weeks of the pressure that we've been putting on, and let's watch us climb up that list. And it does not have to equate to sacks. I say it every week, and I'm going to keep saying it does not have to equate to sacks.
We're going to what it equates to is bad decisions. And I wish there was a stat. There was a stat for how many times we made Caleb Williams make a bad decision, or how many times we took Anthony Richardson and we made him kind of go to his launch the fucking thing, his go-to, right?
Yeah.
We make those bad decisions. And that's really, like, look what we did, like what we just said with Matt Eberflus. We made a bad coaching decision. So I think we take our head games and we bring them with us on the road. And this is going to be another game, man. I think we're done with the blowouts. I really do. I don't really see the offense needing to do everything that they have. Like, that's got to be gruesome and tiresome to really lay out all those blowouts.
Yeah, and it goes
And I
back to what
really,
we're. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm saying I don't really want to be the team that is known for the most. That's why I said I hated that greatest show on turf garbage, because defense wins championships. I keep wanting to just be the gritty defensive team, and it have we like cornered the word grit, because
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans used grit. All these coaches are saying I want gritty wins. The broadcasters are saying, "Well, that was a gritty performance." Like, isn't that our term?
The term grit, when they coined it and trademarked it in a way, when they made it synonymous with the franchise, at first it bothered me. The kneecap stuff, the grit stuff, not mutually exclusive to football, but the Detroit versus everybody, that stuff used to bother me a lot. But the more that I'm watching this team and this culture and what we're doing and the streaks that we're on and the points that we're putting up and the records that we're breaking, none of that stuff bothers me anymore. We have
Does
grit.
bother you?
It's a whole nother podcast for a whole different day. A quick shadow ban if you want to talk about what's really bothering me.
We'll get a rumble for that.
Yeah, but I think I've grown to appreciate this moniker of grit over time, because I don't like buzzwords. I never have. I don't like buzzwords. I don't like euphemisms. But over time, they're playing up to this self-proclaimed gritty franchise and gritty club. If you can walk the walk, by all means, use the talk. And they're proving time and time again that they're gritty.
Well, going through some of these injuries, yeah, and we've responded, I think, in a gritty way, because let's say this. I almost don't even want to say this, but I'm really happy our offensive line continues to be a very uniform presence every week, because losing Malcolm Rodriguez, losing Alex Anzalone, I don't want to say that we can afford in some of the defensive positions to have some of these guys get hurt, but we can't afford anything out of that protection for Jared Goff. His protection needs to be rock solid all the way the rest of the year. And if Frank Ragnow has to play on a broken foot again and not tell anybody, if we all need to chip in and get robotic legs for somebody, why not get robotic legs? But I feel like that's going to be the back end of this season is going to be idling at a nice speed.
Agree. There's no need
that locker room speech.
But
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's no need. I don't want to say to go full throttle, because I do think you should go full throttle, but there's no need to exhaust yourself and pull all the tricks out if you don't need to. So I guess that's where I'm at with
management.
This. Load management. I like it.
We'll use load management. That was Greg Popovich's term that he coined in basketball. And just a simple concept of, literally giving your guys a long-term strategy, right? Something that I think a lot of teams lose sight of or lose the ability to have is a long-term strategy, which I feel really comfortable. Like, even with this whole Jahmyr Gibbs accidentally leaking some play calls.
It's next on my list. I want to talk about that too.
I want to tell you what I think that is. That is a long-term strategy of Russian disinformation.
1,000%
I think we are the first team to start using social media in a disinformation way and saying, dude, did you see that? It's in the background. Let's write it all down. Wait, that is the opposite. Holy shit. Or maybe a little bit's true. Maybe 70% is true.
1,000% agree with you. I feel like they don't let mistakes like that happen, right? The NFL found out that players were gambling on minor league soccer, for God's sake. So they don't let things like this happen. And guys like Gibbs, albeit young and we don't know him that well yet, I just don't think they do things like this. I think Dan Campbell's reaction, he was informed of this at the podium.
Wrestling promo?
Yes.
That was a wrestling promo. I'm sorry.
I feel
like a wrestling promo.
Yeah, at some point, rather it be in training camp or 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe, they said this vernacular that we're using, we can use to our advantage. let's like I read a couple of calls, a couple of things off of that board, and one of them was like code. There was all code words, right? One of them was Kardashian and whatever. I believe that maybe all the way back to the beginning of the season, they had a second set of vernacular ready to rock, and this is just a tool that they're rolling out. Disinformation, subterfuge, whatever you want to call it, to confuse them, to throw them off, to make them prepare for something unnecessary instead of something else that they should be preparing for. I feel that this is contrived.
So I think where this started, and let me tell you where I think this starts, is a couple of weeks ago, the Lions started to get a lot of love, right? In the sense that they were the baby face. They were the darlings of the NFL. That does not go well for this team. We do not want that image. We do not want to be the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't want to date Taylor Swift.
Want to be gritty.
We are. So what do we have to do to stay to our grit? We got to get some heat. Yep. We got to get heat.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we've been throwing heat. Let's go with
we
that.
Got to get heat. We got to get heat. We got to blow. We got Caleb Williams talking shit about Jack Campbell. We have the tight end from the Packers saying he cannot wait to see Kirby Joseph again. I mean, these guys are cutting promos like it's going to be fucking WrestleMania, right? Next time I see you, when have we seen the Lions do that, right? Dan Campbell said, no, our best football is when everyone's coming against us, is when everybody's coming at us. When the
underdog.
Exactly. When we're below the underdog, when we're literally under the underdog. That's what he wants. And that's what they thrive off of, right? So this is just keeping the storyline true that, when you need heat, sometimes you got to turn heel. And that's exactly what they're doing.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of times we agree with each other, but this is something that I was looking forward to talking about, and you are with me lockstep on this one. And then you brought up Jack Campbell hit on the sidelines when Caleb Williams rolled out. Let's talk about that for a second. And
let's talk about Caleb Williams, buddy. You're not in college football, okay? Yep. You're in the fucking NFL, and if you're not going to go down or run out, you're going to get pushed out.
You're once you leave that pocket, I know they protect the quarterbacks from the waist down in the pocket at all costs, right? Those flags have the propensity to impact game outcome. And they've made it very clear that they're going to protect these vulnerable guys, just like the crackbacks and the chop blocks and all the shit that they're no pun intended, but cracking down on. Jack Campbell's hit on Caleb Williams, albeit low, was fair. He is outside of the pocket. He turns into all intents and purposes a running back, just like Derrick Henry is, right? Jack Campbell made that hit on the sidelines against any running back that we have faced this year. It'd be a highlight reel. I don't know. Does SportsCenter still do top 10? That would be a top 10, right?
Do I watch ESPN? I don't know.
Oh, nobody does. I mean, but
no. Everyone watches the fan forum.
Right. And you can't talk about this narrative that the Lions are dirty, right? And that the Jack Campbell hit was dirty without talking about the flags that Branch is getting for some of these hits on the sideline, right? It's like he's getting penalized for putting his head down. It's not spearing. He's not head hunting. He's getting penalized for form tackling on the wrong side of the body. And you can't talk about the Jack Campbell hit without talking about Branch. I believe, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think games are predetermined.
I am.
But I know you are, and I know some other folks on the fan forum are. I'm not. But they're going to find ways to crack down on us. And if something looks a little fishy, if something looks a little contrived or suspect during a game, they're going to call it. That's the trade-off of being as dominant as we have been in the majority of these wins.
But they didn't call anything on Jack Campbell.
Clean
as a whistle.
Clean hit.
They still complained. They still villainized him, right? So all I'm saying is to Caleb Williams and to your point is there's a reason that prior to protecting the quarterback with all those rules, why quarterbacks didn't scramble, because you got destroyed.
Well, and that's just the reality of it. That's, again, we're agreeing on everything here this week. It's a message being sent that you leave the pocket, we're going to treat you like everybody else, and we're going to try to decleat you. We're going to try to get that ball out. By no means do I think that they're trying to hurt anybody, but that's a valuable message sent by Jack Campbell on national TV. Come outside of the pocket and I will try to crush you.
Let me play the antagonist. National TV, same hit, same situation. The quarterback's Patrick Mahomes. Is there a flag?
Yes.
Exactly. So that was a lesson to Caleb Williams. That wasn't a lesson to Jack Campbell that you're allowed to do that. That was a lesson to Caleb Williams that, listen, brother, if you want to play in the NFL, this is what you're going to have to do. Now, if you get on a Campbell's Soup commercial and you start dating a pop star, then we're going to call it every time. Matter of fact, you're going to hear it on the mic. We're going to tell you what's happening so you win every game. But I just think that that's one of those things where we got to make sure we don't slow down, we don't compromise our game, but we're also aware of who's coming at us. And that's why I think Dan Campbell wants to make sure we have the heat on us, because if these guys get comfortable, you're right, Brian Branch is going to get another taunting flag when he's not even in the play, right? Aiden Hutchinson's going to get a pass interference. You know what I mean? He's going to get a roughing the passer.
Hands to the face, something
when
so
he's
subjective.
On IR, right? They're going to start doing this shit. So that's where the heat comes, man. We know our role. We don't want to be too cute. We don't want to date pop stars. We don't want to be all over the place. We know we're the gritty ass Lions, kind of like the Steelers. Let us just be a dirty ass white collar Midwestern football team.
Well, let me tell you this too, or let me say this. Penalties like what Branch got, hits Campbell put on Williams that have a propensity to draw those flags more than other times, we'll take those flags 100 times out of 100 times. Do not let up. Do not slow down. It's the penalties we're not getting, right, that we used to get. It's the delays of games. It's the false starts. It's the blocks in the back and the weird holding calls. Those are the penalties that you try to instill some discipline and clean those up. We'll take those penalties and the occasional ejection 100 out of 100 times if we're playing this fast and this aggressive. Go forth and lay people out.
Well, that's what we're going to have to do in this game, because this is a primetime game. This is a Packers team that loves to get hot at the end of the season. Our division right now is pretty clogged at the top, with the Packers, Lions, and Vikings all having winning records. I think Packers have 3 losses, Vikings have 2, and we have 1. We're all
separated by a game and a half at the top. There. It's probably the best division winning percentage and point differential wise in the entire NFL, I would have to imagine.
So we've got, I'm not even going to mess around with the questionables because a lot of that shit's messed up. We have Taylor Decker out. We have Carlton Davis out.
That's unfortunate.
But they have, Dobbs is out, concussion. Who else is out? One of their linebackers. Okay, so hey, they've got a couple main key players on the defense out as well. I wouldn't say it's 1-for-1, but
with Davis out, already declared out, I think what we're looking at potentially, and again, it can all change overnight, but I think the
spread opened at 5 and now it's at 4.
I think we're looking at Arnold hopefully able to shut down Reed. If you shut down Reed, I think you're looking at Kraft, right? Is that their tight end, Kraft? I think you're looking at Kraft being a problem. Kraft has very similar numbers to some of the more productive tight ends in the league. Kind of under the radar guy, hit and miss. But with the depth issues that we're having with coverage linebackers, I think you're hopeful that you can take Reed out of this game and put it into the running back's hand, the running game's hands, and then force them to dump it early and often out. Kraft is like a safety valve. And we know that we can stop the run, right? Can we get run on? Sometimes, holes happen.
We can get run on. Yeah.
Guys take off. Guys
I would say holes, egregious, though. I would say that if there's a couple holes that are exposed, they're patched up fairly quickly. But they're there. They're there.
But again, they have an elite running back. We have an elite defensive line, albeit injury riddled, if you will. They're going to try. I'm going to say it now. I believe that they're going to try to isolate Arnold Reed.
Yeah.
If Arnold can show up and stay relatively clean and penalty free, they don't have a lot of other options.
So
They
let's
can
say this, because I think that's exactly where I'm headed too. That's your matchup. Now, let's say that matchup is won by the Lions, which I'm confident it will be because we're a
hope
Lions
it will be.
podcast and we love our fucking Lions.
Yep.
That matchup's won by the Lions. The score in a game like this, is this where we see like a single digit score?
I think that's very weather dependent. I haven't looked
Okay.
at the forecast. You always got to look at the weather when you're in a place like Wisconsin. I don't see this being a one-score game because they do, or a low scoring game because they do have the ability to take the top off. The receivers are certainly lacking, besides for Reed, who is on pace to be a Pro Bowler. I think that a guy like Watson, I mean, they can take the top off, and we're a little shallow at corner right now.
I mean, Hitch, last time we played him, it was 24-14 indoors. So even if you now take it in and outside and it's not, let's just say it doesn't snow, right? It's outside. And for all the reasons we just said, and I'm looking at these team stats, if we're number 1 in it, they're number 2 in it. If we're number 7, they're number 8. There's a few stats where maybe we're apart, but we're fairly equal teams. I truly think this is going to come down to coaching and in decision making, right? Who is going to be the better coach? Because I know that our players are statistically, and it shows it, right, in the team stats, are just a notch above better than the Packers. And we're saying that, but why are we winning and why do I think we're going to win? Because I think our coaching staff is better. And I think this is why we see this. And this is going to be those games where it's the battle of the head coaches. I still think those are the low scoring games.
But we're a disciplined
that's strategy.
We're a disciplined team this year. We're not going to look. I hope that at the end of the day here, win, lose, or draw, we're not going to look at penalties playing a big factor. You know, I'll go out on a limb right now, say 28-20 Lions with a stat line looking something like high single digit receptions for Reed, 50 plus yards for Kraft, a little less than 100 for Jacobs. But with that stat line, it can play out any way, either way. I mean, that stat line, you got 3 guys contributing. Weather will be a factor. Hopefully penalties will not. And I think, what did I just say? 28-20. So essentially that's a 1-score game. But I do see them getting loose a little bit. If it's snowing, field conditions aren't awesome. This is where Montgomery and Gibbs thrive. This might be another game where we're looking at high percentage and ball protection for Goff, but low numbers. This could be a Jared Goff 14 for 19 for 160 yards, as long as our backfield can combine for 150 plus, right?
So while you were pontificating, as you so eloquently do, I started looking up some stats on their offensive line, and you talked about the mental game. They've given up I don't want to say top, but they're up there with false starts for their offensive line. They've given up 80 yards so far with false starts. We've given up 59.
Okay, big difference.
They give up a lot more false starts, shockingly, when they're playing at home than away.
Interesting.
So we are a much more disciplined team. And when we do make mistakes, we haven't given up as many yards. So from a stat data freak, not only are we better than them a little bit from a player personnel standpoint, and we know why we're not pushing all the way through with the sacks is because of Aiden Hutchinson, but I really think this is going to be the game, Kitch, where let's start counting how many times our defensive line, like you said, pushes pressure, not just on the quarterback, but on the tackles, on the guards. How many times we can get them to say, dude, we're fucking salivating. We're coming for you, right?
Let's see the calls. You're right. Let's see the calls that we might be able to get too. It's not just the pressure game and the stat sheet, the sacks on paper, but if their line is prone to false starts and talking about the head game, we won the head game until game in the second half against the Bears with the false start that we drew on 4th down. That was a thing of beauty.
Do you know who's right above them or the Bears with 100 yards?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's look and see if we can bring the pressure that we brought last week. If we can bring that, let's see if we get the holding calls and the hands to the face calls, and let's see if the offensive pass interference becomes a thing, and that's generated by pressure too, right? The offensive pass interference is generated by pressure. So let's see.
I love it. Right above that is Chicago, Buffalo, Houston, and Tennessee.
Really,
Teams that we've taken advantage of and had the mental game on. Who do you think they lost those yards against? So yeah, let's focus on that, guys. Let's take a look at those numbers, those false starts. Let's start tracking the mental game. Let's start tracking those Jedi mind tricks. I want to see if Brad
that
Holmes is
fourth,
trying to remote view into the locker room of the other team.
like the men who stare at goats, right?
Ooh, they stared more at goats. But yeah,
And not to be redundant, but we gotta just realize how cool that false start that Goff drew with his cadence, his first double cadence of the game, his first hard count of the game. I mean, it couldn't have played out better if it was scripted for a movie. And let's see, we're proven to be more disciplined. We're proven to be a slight cut above. I mean, we can win any game in any environment in any weather against anybody, right? It's just which way are the cards going to fall in this one. Potentially is a little bit more of a thing than it has been, right? We had some mistakes. We slowed down against the Bears. Let's look to bounce back. Let's look to come out and be aggressive, and let's try to take the playmakers out of the game. Let's win the mental game. Let's use the weather and the field conditions maybe to our advantage. Any game for us is winnable.
I think we've already won the mental game. We just need to keep winning it, right? This is the CIA. This is top notch. This is crazy deep cover, the disinformation. We're winning the mental game over and over. It's just when we get there, we can't lose it. We just keep it rolling. We just keep it rolling, baby. I love it.
And don't let if there's some bad calls, if there's some iffy stuff going on, don't let it throw you off your game. Just get
And
back
you
to the
know
line of
damn
scrimmage and
well,
do your
Hitch,
thing.
let's talk about it. Those Lions fans are going to be covering Lambeau. I haven't really heard about it or looked into it. I know every time that they play the Packers at home, they try to discourage them from selling to Lions fans. But no matter what, I don't know if it's going to be a blue out, a white out, how they're going to do the color scheme. But you're going to see the Lions, dude. If they show up in Houston, they're showing up in Green Bay.
1,000%. And off the top of my head, I don't know anybody personally going to this game that I'm aware of, but it's a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's a car rental for a couple of buddies to just cruise out there the night before.
Yeah.
It's a Red Roof Inn and a
See, that's why I don't go with you. I'm not staying at the Red Roof Inn. I'm a Marriott kind of guy.
If I went, I'd be staying in my car.
I know
those tickets are going to be a lot of dough.
Dude, I know exactly what you'd be doing. You wouldn't eat. You would just bring little gas from the neighborhoods of everybody's gas and just use it to fill it up. I've been with you before. You'd pinch every fucking penny.
Would feast on cheese and drink the tears of the fucking Packers
fans. And you'd make it known the whole time. Yeah. I'm not eating. I'm not showering. I'm not this. I'm standing right here until all I need is fucking 6 cartons of cigarettes and just let me go to town.
I'm beyond the days of being the shirtless guy in 20-degree weather, but goddamn, like you said, we're going to take it over. We're going to show up.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we're at almost dead ass at an hour right here. Anything you want to touch on that we haven't?
I just want to say I appreciate everybody. We got up to almost 60 subscribers on our YouTube page. The Spotify continues to grow. The shorts are growing on YouTube. The TikTok keeps blowing up. There's a few people on TikTok that look like they're starting up their podcasts, and I told them, hey, we'd love to intermingle. So please just like it, subscribe it, and no, I'm good, man. Outside of that, what about you?
I just want to thank you. You're keeping me honest, man. I flew in here today after a day at work. There's plenty of nights where I feel like, it's cold out. I don't want to sit in the garage tonight. Everybody's already said everything that needs to be said about these games. Not to say that I'm not having a riot doing this, but I want to applaud your efforts here with the back end that people can't see, with keeping me motivated here. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. Everybody listening, you got jobs, you got kids, you got mitigating circumstances and factors, and it's been a lot of fun. And this year in particular, I want to shout it out to how invested you are in this, and 60 subscribers from 0 to 60 in a couple of weeks. those shorts that you put your time and talent into are taking off and they're paying off. And it's just been a great year to go all into this, and you're keeping me honest, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, dude. I mentioned it. I've got help. I've got people. My buddy JT at work, my coworker Valita at work. Man, I feel like these guys at work have been giving me so much advice because you never know. There's so many people that you work with that have like a social media presence or do this on the
Absolutely.
side and have so many common goals. And that just shows you there's life outside of work. And like you said, we're so busy with this stuff, and I got to go get Jason from basketball and go to soccer practice. But I appreciate, my wife being understanding of taking the hour out every week and
Yep.
me editing videos. And like I said, the folks I just named for just the advice of like, hey, use this, do this. And man, it's just fun to do this. So
Oh, it's kind of
thanks for
second.
inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I think, like, off of your point, it's kind of second nature for some of these folks that are younger than us. It's something
Yeah.
that we didn't avail ourselves to, that we just dabbled in this social media and this content creation. So we're soaking up anything that anybody wants to share with us. Anything that we can do might take us 5 minutes to get 1 or 2 more views, maybe 100 more views, or 1 more subscriber. Like, bring it on. We're all ears.
Bring it on, baby.
All right, well, let's end it there. We always have the option of hopping back on during the week. Maybe we'll look at jumping back on for a quick one-hitter here if this game goes the way we're thinking it goes. If there's something that happens that we need to address, we can jump on for 20 minutes in a few days here.
Or we could live stream a game.
Could live stream a game. It might be a good way to get
Could live stream a Thursday game, even if it's just for 20 minutes, half a game. Doesn't have to be the whole game.
Also really looking forward to one day sooner rather than later doing this in person with you. We do it via Riverside and with this screen share because we're busy, because we got a lot going on. Everybody does. But a new dynamic, something to look forward to might be Mark and I sitting together in his studio shooting the shit one day here.
Wouldn't that be nice? Just like old Monty's Cafe. Just can't make some strong coffee or else we'll never shut up. But
before we take off, what's over your right shoulder there? Did you frame our logo?
Yeah. That's actually our logo, and then that's the Spotify link too. So I just want to, start getting it up there because if you scan that, it'll take you right to the Spotify page. And so many people I know do Spotify during the day because you can close your phone. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Well, just to wrap it up, we got a lot to look forward to next week. We're going to jump back on as we always do and give you our insight. But thank you, Mark. Tell your people I said hey, and touch base later.
Peace.